Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Snoozing Scientist. Have you ever wondered, how can just 4 simple letters create the vast diversity of life on Earth? Today we'll explore the genetic code, the universal language that connects you, me, and every living being in one continuous story. You close your eyes and drift inward, into the quiet landscape of your own body. Within each cell lies a hidden script, a silent instruction that guides the pulse of life. The genetic code rests there, gentle and unbroken, repeating the same ancient whisper across all living things. You begin your journey by listening to this whisper. You lie still, breathing softly, and allow your attention to settle within. The world outside grows dim, like a lantern slowly fading, until all you notice is the quiet rhythm of your own body. With each breath, you drift inward, as if descending into a hidden landscape you carry with you always. Inside, there is no noise, no rush. There is only the gentle presence of your living self. You begin to imagine what lies beneath skin and muscle, beneath the familiar beating of your heart, beneath the quiet expansion of your lungs. Deeper still, you sense the trillions of tiny chambers that make up your body, your cells. Each one is small, invisible to your eyes, yet together they form the entirety of you. You wander into this inner world, as though shrinking down to meet the cells face to face. They are not silent. Each cell hums with activity, a bustling community, though the sound is more like a whisper than a shout. Molecules move, membranes shift, energy flows. Yet beneath all of this, deeper still, there lies something quieter. Something steady, constant, unbroken. It is the script, the hidden instruction, the genetic code. Every cell carries it, tucked away in its core, wound tightly in the delicate spirals of DNA. Imagine a library inside you, not filled with books of paper and ink, but with strands of chemical letters. The shelves are long, the volumes countless, but all written in the same 4 letters. The alphabet of life. Each cell has a copy. Each one reads its script, whispering the instructions that guide your existence. The whisper does not sound like words. It is not a language you hear with your ears. Instead, it is a rhythm you feel, an undercurrent of order. It guides the building of proteins, the folding of structures, the pulse of growth. Without it, the cell would be silent. Without it, the body would not exist. As you float in this awareness, you notice how comforting the idea is. You are not a random collection of parts. You are organized, guided, cared for by this ancient script. Every heartbeat, every breath, every thought rests upon the instructions that DNA carries. The code is always at work, even when you are still, even when you are sleeping, even now as you listen. You imagine opening a single strand of DNA, as if it were a scroll. Its letters run on, repeating in patterns too vast to memorize. And yet, every letter matters. Together, they form instructions for the making of life itself. The scroll is not written recently. It is ancient, passed down through time. It carries echoes of ancestors you will never meet, creatures long gone, lives stretching back billions of years. The code is a thread, unbroken, stitching you into the great fabric of life. You let yourself feel this continuity. You are not separate from the world around you. The same code whispers in the cells of a tree, in the fins of a fish, in the wings of a bird. The instructions may differ in their arrangements, but the alphabet is shared. This universality is gentle, unifying. It reminds you that all life, though varied and vast, arises from the same script. You are part of a choir, every being singing from the same sheet of music, each with its own voice, but all sharing the same notes. Inside your cells, the whisper is patient. It does not rush. Proteins are built step by step, strands unwind and rewind with care. Instructions are read again and again without error. The process is quiet, but unceasing. Even as you rest, even as you drift towards sleep, your cells remain awake, reciting their code. You reflect on how easily this is forgotten. You walk through your day without thinking of the trillions of voices whispering within you. You see your body as one, but it is many, a community of cells, each guided by the same code, each carrying the same song. It is humbling to realize that your life depends not on one loud command, but on countless small whispers, repeated faithfully. You imagine these whispers as a breeze through a forest. Each tree rustles softly, its leaves moving in the wind. One tree alone is faint, but the forest together carries a great sound, gentle, steady, alive. Your cells are the forest. The code is the wind. Life itself is the rustle that rises from both. As you drift deeper, you think of the quiet devotion of this script. It does not ask for recognition. It does not need praise. It has whispered the same letters across eons, carrying life forward. Its constancy is its gift. Like a river carving valleys, like stars rising each night, the code continues. You are a moment in its long story, a verse in its poem, a note in its song. And yet, within you, the code feels personal. It is not only universal, it is uniquely yours. Though the alphabet is shared across all life, the arrangement of letters in your cells is unlike anyone else's. The script written within you is your own version of the story, a pattern that belongs only to you. This mixture of shared and unique is the heart of life's beauty. You are both part of a vast whole and singular in your design. You rest with this duality. The code unites you with every living thing, yet distinguishes you from them as well. In this balance, you find comfort. You are never alone, yet you are always yourself. The whisper in your cells speaks both truths at once. As the night deepens, you imagine lying within this forest of cells, listening to their whispers. Each cell recites its code. Each whisper is small, but together they form a symphony of life. The sound is soothing, a reminder that you are carried, that you are sustained, that you are alive. You do not need to command it. You only need to rest within it. And as you linger, a question stirs softly. If the whisper within each cell is written with letters, then what are these letters? What alphabet shapes the script of life, so simple yet so infinite? The whisper guides you gently toward the next step, to listen more closely, to begin hearing the alphabet of existence itself. Imagine a language with only 4 letters, yet capable of writing every story of life on Earth. Adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine, the bases of DNA, pair and fold into patterns more intricate than poetry. You float in the rhythm of this alphabet, sensing how simple letters expand into infinite possibility. You linger in the quiet of your own body, still resting in the whispers of your cells. The thought of a script unfolds more clearly now. A language, hidden but constant, is written inside you. And unlike the languages you speak or hear in daily life, this one is not formed of many letters. It is built from only 4. Just 4 symbols, repeated endlessly, shape the entire living world. Adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine. For names for 4 bases, for letters in the alphabet of DNA. They sound unfamiliar at first, like words from a distant tongue. Yet they are the same letters written in the cells of every living thing, from the smallest microbe to the tallest tree. You picture these letters not as flat symbols, but as colors, glowing gently against the dark. A for adenine might glow like a golden thread. T for thymine might shimmer with soft blue. C for cytosine could carry the green of a new leaf, while G for guanine might hold the quiet violet of twilight. The code unfolds in strands of light, repeating these 4 colors, weaving them into endless patterns. The beauty lies not only in the letters themselves, but in how they pair. Always joins with T. C always joins with G. They hold each other like partners in a dance, locked together in balance. It is this pairing that makes DNA stable, that allows the spiral to hold its form. Each connection is delicate, yet together they form a ladder that stretches through time. You imagine this pairing as a gentle rhythm. A with T, C with G, step and counterstep, inhale and exhale. The pattern repeats with such consistency that the code can copy itself endlessly, passing instructions faithfully from one generation to the next. This rhythm is ancient, older than any language ever spoken aloud. And yet, from this simplicity arises vast complexity. For letters alone could seem limiting, but arranged in sequences, they create instructions as intricate as any symphony. Just as the 26 letters of your spoken alphabet can form every story, every poem, every memory written down, so too can these 4 letters form every living body on earth. You drift with the realization. All of life is written in a language of 4. A bird's wing, a whale's song, the scent of a flower, the rhythm of your heartbeat. All of it arises from these letters. It is humbling to think that such diversity blooms from such simplicity. The letters form words of a sort called codons, groups of 3 that signal which amino acid to add, which piece of protein to build. 3 letters here, 3 letters there, creating the vocabulary of life. The sequence matters. Just as changing a single letter in a word can alter its meaning, changing one letter in the genetic code can transform an instruction, for better or worse. You imagine reading a book where one letter shifts. Cat becomes bat. A tiny change, but the meaning transforms completely. In the same way, a single base change in DNA can alter a protein, sometimes subtly, sometimes profoundly. The code is precise, and yet it allows room for change. This room is what makes evolution possible. As you float in this thought, you see how repetition creates both stability and variation. The code is faithful, yet not rigid. Errors slip in, mutations occur, letters switch. Sometimes these changes fade without notice, sometimes they cause harm, and sometimes they spark entirely new forms of life. The alphabet allows both continuity and creativity, both memory and invention. The more you imagine it, the more the code feels like poetry. For letters, endlessly rearranged, forming lines and stanzas that stretch across generations. Each cell recites its verse, a poem of proteins, a rhythm of life. The entire living world becomes an anthology, countless poems written in the same alphabet, each unique, each contributing to the greater song. You breathe deeply, sensing how close this language feels. It is not distant. It is written in you, carried in every cell. You may not read it with your eyes, but your body reads it constantly, translating its letters into the structures that keep you alive. You are not only the reader of this code. You are its living expression. Machines, too, have begun to read this language. Scientists have opened the book of DNA, letter by letter, decoding its sequences, mapping its instructions. The letters that once seemed hidden are now visible, laid out like text on a page. And with this reading comes awe, but also responsibility. To read the alphabet of life is to glimpse the foundation of existence itself. Imagine a language with only 4 letters, yet capable of writing every story of life on Earth. Adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine, the bases of DNA, pair and fold into patterns more intricate than poetry. You float in the rhythm of this alphabet, sensing how simple letters expand into infinite possibility. You linger in the quiet of your own body, still resting in the whispers of your cells. The thought of a script unfolds more clearly now. A language, hidden but constant, is written inside you. And unlike the languages you speak or hear in daily life, this one is not formed of many letters. It is built from only 4. Just 4 symbols, repeated endlessly, shape the entire living world. Adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine. For names for 4 bases, for letters in the alphabet of DNA. They sound unfamiliar at first, like words from a distant tongue. Yet they are the same letters written in the cells of every living thing, from the smallest microbe to the tallest tree. You picture these letters not as flat symbols, but as colors, glowing gently against the dark. A for adenine might glow like a golden thread. T for thymine might shimmer with soft blue. C for cytosine could carry the green of a new leaf, while G for guanine might hold the quiet violet of twilight. The code unfolds in strands of light, repeating these 4 colors, weaving them into endless patterns. The beauty lies not only in the letters themselves, but in how they pair. always joins with T. C always joins with G. They hold each other like partners in a dance, locked together in balance. It is this pairing that makes DNA stable, that allows the spiral to hold its form. Each connection is delicate, yet together they form a ladder that stretches through time. You imagine this pairing as a gentle rhythm. A with T, C with G, step and counterstep, inhale and exhale. The pattern repeats with such consistency that the code can copy itself endlessly, passing instructions faithfully from one generation to the next. This rhythm is ancient, older than any language ever spoken aloud. And yet, from this simplicity arises vast complexity. For letters alone could seem limiting, but arranged in sequences, they create instructions as intricate as any symphony. Just as the 26 letters of your spoken alphabet can form every story, every poem, every memory written down, so too can these 4 letters form every living body on earth. You drift with the realization. All of life is written in a language of 4. A bird's wing, a whale's song, the scent of a flower, the rhythm of your heartbeat. All of it arises from these letters. It is humbling to think that such diversity blooms from such simplicity. The letters form words of a sort called codons, groups of 3 that signal which amino acid to add, which piece of protein to build. 3 letters here, 3 letters there, creating the vocabulary of life. The sequence matters. Just as changing a single letter in a word can alter its meaning, changing one letter in the genetic code can transform an instruction, for better or worse. You imagine reading a book where one letter shifts. Cat becomes bat. A tiny change, but the meaning transforms completely. In the same way, a single base change in DNA can alter a protein, sometimes subtly, sometimes profoundly. The code is precise, and yet it allows room for change. This room is what makes evolution possible. As you float in this thought, you see how repetition creates both stability and variation. The code is faithful, yet not rigid. Errors slip in, mutations occur, letters switch. Sometimes these changes fade without notice, sometimes they cause harm, and sometimes they spark entirely new forms of life. The alphabet allows both continuity and creativity, both memory and invention. The more you imagine it, the more the code feels like poetry. For letters, endlessly rearranged, forming lines and stanzas that stretch across generations. Each cell recites its verse, a poem of proteins, a rhythm of life. The entire living world becomes an anthology, countless poems written in the same alphabet, each unique, each contributing to the greater song. You breathe deeply, sensing how close this language feels. It is not distant. It is written in you, carried in every cell. You may not read it with your eyes, but your body reads it constantly, translating its letters into the structures that keep you alive. You are not only the reader of this code, you are its living expression. Machines, too, have begun to read this language. Scientists have opened the book of DNA, letter by letter, decoding its sequences, mapping its instructions. The letters that once seemed hidden are now visible, laid out like text on a page. And with this reading comes awe, but also responsibility. To read the alphabet of life is to glimpse the foundation of existence itself. You rest with the comfort that even as the code is studied, its beauty remains. It is not diminished by explanation. If anything, it grows richer. To know that all of life arises from 4 simple letters is not to lessen the mystery, but to deepen it. Simplicity itself becomes profound. Your breath continues, steady as the pairing of bases. Inhale with exhale, A with T, C with G. You feel yourself part of this rhythm, part of the ancient pairing that has held life steady for billions of years. The alphabet of existence is not only in your cells. It is mirrored in your breath, in your heartbeat, in the balance of your being. As you drift, you wonder about the shape of this alphabet. For letters alone are not static. They form something larger. They twist into a spiral, a helix that holds both beauty and strength. Perhaps the next step is not only to hear the letters, but to walk the staircase they form, the spirals of memory that carry the story of life upward and onward. The double helix twists gently like a staircase spiraling into infinity. You wander along its steps, noticing how each rung carries memory, storing information across generations. This spiral is not just a structure. It is a bridge between past and future, a quiet library that never closes. You imagine standing at the base of a great staircase, one that rises upward and downward in both directions, curling in an elegant spiral. This form is endless, stretching beyond sight. Each step is small, delicate, yet together they create a structure that is strong, steady, and timeless. This staircase is the double helix, the shape of DNA, the spiral of memory written into every living cell. The spiral is graceful. Two strands twist around each other like dancers, partners bound by invisible bonds. Between them are the rungs, the paired bases, the letters of the genetic alphabet holding fast to one another. Adenine with thymine, cytosine with guanine. Together they form the ladder, rung upon rung, step upon step, winding into the helix. You picture walking along the staircase, hand gliding gently over its rail. Each step you take carries memory, not your own alone, but the memory of generations. DNA holds the instructions not just for your body, but the echoes of all who came before you. It is a library, storing not only your story, but the story of life itself. This spiral has been turning for billions of years. Long before you were here, long before humans walked the earth, the double helix whispered its code. Through microbes, through fish, through mammals, through trees, the helix has carried its memory. It is a thread woven across time, linking the earliest spark of life with the present moment of your breath. The shape of the helix is more than beauty. It is strength. Its twisting protects the fragile code inside, shielding it from harm. Just as a rope is stronger when strands are wound together, DNA's spiral gives it resilience. It can be coiled and packed tightly, fitting enormous amounts of information into the tiniest space. In a single cell of your body lies about 2 meters of DNA, folded again and again into a nucleus so small you cannot see it. A library as vast as history, hidden inside what looks like nothing at all. You breathe, letting the image of this spiral library settle within you. Each of your trillions of cells carries its own copy, its own staircase, its own spiral of memory. And each one reads from this library constantly, reciting the instructions that allow you to live. It is as if you carry countless librarians within you, each one tending the shelves, ensuring the scroll of your life continues unbroken. The spiral is also a bridge. One side of the helix can be copied to make the other. This pairing is what allows DNA to replicate, to pass its information from one cell to the next, from one generation to the next. The spiral unzips like a zipper opening, each strand serving as a guide for a new one. In this way, the library renews itself. Memory is preserved, carried forward like a flame passed from candle to candle. You rest in the comfort of this continuity. The spiral within you is not only yours. It is inherited, shared, handed down. You are the current steward of a pattern that began long before you. When you imagine this, you feel yourself part of something vast and unbroken. A lineage of spirals, each carrying memory into the future. You think of seashells, of galaxies, of rivers winding through valleys. Spirals appear everywhere in nature, repeating themselves across scales. The DNA helix is one of these echoes. Its spiral mirrors the wider world, reminding you that life is connected through patterns. The same shape appears in the curve of a fern, the arc of a storm, the whirl of a sunflower. Spirals are the universe's way of saying continuity matters. You imagine holding the helix gently, turning it slowly in your hands. This shape feels balanced, stable, yet endlessly dynamic. It is not static. It is always opening, closing, replicating, folding. The spiral is alive, not in movement you can see, but in processes that never stop. Even as you rest here now, your cells are unwinding, copying, restoring. The staircase of life is always in motion. And as it moves, it remembers. DNA is a record. It remembers the instructions for your body, but it also carries traces of ancient history. Within its letters are fragments from ancestors long gone, genetic echoes of creatures who lived millions of years ago. Some of these fragments no longer serve a purpose, yet they remain fossils written in code. You carry the past in your spiral, even as it carries you forward into the future. Memory is not always perfect. Errors slip in, mutations occur. The spiral remembers, but it also changes. Sometimes the change is small, unnoticed. Sometimes it is profound, leading to new forms of life. The spiral is both faithful and inventive, a memory keeper and a storyteller. Through its changes, evolution unfolds, and the library of life gains new chapters. You let yourself rest in this paradox. The spiral preserves, and the spiral transforms. It is both continuity and change, both stability and flexibility. Without its faithfulness, life would collapse. Without its changes, life would stagnate. The spiral of memory walks the balance between holding on and letting go. You imagine standing in a great archive, shelves stretching endlessly, each filled with scrolls. Some scrolls are ancient, written long ago. Some are new, freshly copied. Some contain errors, some hold variations. Yet together they tell one continuous story. This archive is the double helix, the library written in every cell. It is both fragile and enduring, delicate yet immense. You breathe, and you feel how this spiral is not distant. It is within you, shaping you, carrying you. It is the reason your body grows, heals, remembers. The spiral is your companion, as constant as your breath, as steady as your heartbeat. This memory is your memory, and yet you wonder softly, how does the spiral become life? How do its letters and rungs, its patterns and pairings, transform into the living body you carry? The spiral itself is beautiful, but it is also functional. It gives rise to proteins, to form, to life. Perhaps the next step of your journey is to see how code becomes creation, how letters become flesh, how memory becomes being. Your body reads the code patiently, translating letters into proteins, proteins into form, form into life. The process feels like music, a score written long ago, still played anew in every cell. You linger with the wonder that every heartbeat, every breath, arises from instructions quietly unfolding within. You linger at the spiral staircase of DNA, its rungs and turns vivid in your mind. Yet a question stirs gently. How does this code, this silent library, become you? How do letters written in chemical form transform into flesh, heartbeat, breath, and thought? The answer is both intricate and simple. It begins with reading, with translation, with a process as quiet and constant as the whisper of the spiral itself. DNA is not just memory. It is instruction. Each section of the code holds information for building proteins, the essential workers of life. Proteins fold into shapes that form muscles, enzymes, hormones, antibodies. They are the builders, the messengers, the guardians. Without proteins, life has no structure, no function. And proteins are born from the letters of DNA. You imagine DNA as a grand musical score. The notes are the letters A, T, C, G. Alone, they are silent, waiting. But when read, they form melodies, rhythms, harmonies. Each gene is a passage, each sequence a motif. Proteins are the instruments playing the music, guided by the score. Life is the performance, unfolding moment by moment in the body. The process begins with transcription, the first step in translating the silent code. Inside your cells, a molecule called RNA polymerase glides along the DNA strand, unzipping the spiral just enough to read. It copies the letters into a messenger, a strand of RNA. This RNA is like a smaller scroll, a portable version of the original script. It carries the instructions outward, from the library of the nucleus to the bustling workshop of the cell. You picture this messenger RNA as a courier, carrying a carefully written letter. It does not carry the whole library, only a section, only what is needed at that moment. The message is specific, precise. The courier travels outward to the ribosome, the factory of the cell, where translation begins. At the ribosome, the letters of RNA are read in groups of 3, called codons. Each codon specifies an amino acid, the building block of proteins. The ribosome moves along the RNA like a reader moving through lines of text, translating each word into substance. Amino acids arrive one by one, carried by transfer molecules. They line up, linking together like beads on a thread. Slowly, the chain grows. Slowly, a protein is born. You let yourself rest in the rhythm of this process. Read, translate, build. Read, translate, build. It is quiet yet relentless. In each of your trillions of cells, this translation happens endlessly, thousands of times every moment. The scale is immense, yet it feels delicate, precise, musical. The chain of amino acids does not remain flat. It folds, bends, twists into intricate shapes, guided by chemical interactions. The folding is what gives the protein its function, a shape that fits into other shapes like a key into a lock. An enzyme folds to speed up reactions. Hemoglobin folds to carry oxygen. Collagen folds to give strength to skin and bone. Each shape, each fold, is an act of creation. You breathe, sensing the beauty in this. Proteins are not random. They are purposeful, shaped by the code, built to sustain you. Every breath you take depends on proteins that carry oxygen through your blood. Every thought you form depends on proteins that signal across neurons. Every step you walk depends on proteins pulling muscles into motion. The code becomes creation, and creation becomes you. The process is not only precise, it is continuous. Your body does not stop reading, does not stop building. Even as you lie still, your cells are busy. They replace old proteins, repair broken ones, create new ones where needed. Life is constant renewal. You are always being rewritten, always being rebuilt, moment by moment, letter by letter. You imagine this as a symphony without end. The DNA is the score. The RNA is the sheet music copied for the players. The ribosomes are the musicians reading the notes, playing the melody. The amino acids are the instruments producing sound. And you, your breath, your thought, your being are the music itself. This music began long ago. The genetic code was written in the earliest life, and ever since, its letters have been read, its proteins built, its music played. Each organism is a variation on the theme, each life a new performance of the same ancient song. The melody continues across time, unbroken, unending. Sometimes the music shifts. A letter changes, a mutation occurs. The protein built may be altered, its shape different, its function new. Sometimes the change is harmful, disrupting the harmony. Sometimes it is neutral, barely noticed. And sometimes it brings a new possibility, a new note that changes the song forever. This is how evolution composes, through tiny variations, through small changes in the score that alter the melody of life. You rest with this paradox. The process is faithful yet flexible. It preserves the ancient melody, yet allows for improvisation. It repeats, yet it evolves. This balance is what makes life resilient, creative, unending. You imagine a painter mixing for simple colors. With patience and care, they create endless shades, endless patterns. DNA, with its 4 letters, does the same. Proteins are the shades, the hues, the brushstrokes. The body is the painting. The world of living beings is the gallery. And the painter's hand is the rhythm of transcription and translation. Always at work, always creating. As you breathe, you sense how close this process feels to you. It is not abstract. It is happening now, within you, sustaining you, carrying you. The silent library of your DNA is being read in this very moment. Proteins are being built. Your life is unfolding. You are not separate from the process. You are the process. This realization brings peace. You do not need to control it. You do not need to understand every detail. You only need to rest in the knowledge that your body is reading, translating, building, creating, always gently, faithfully. You are music being played. You are a poem being written. You are creation itself unfolding from code. The night deepens, and you wonder softly about the next step. The code becomes creation, yes, but it also becomes history. Within those creations lie echoes of change, small shifts that accumulate, shaping the diversity of life. If DNA is music, then evolution is its variations, echoes across time, improvisations that carry the melody forward. You linger in this question: how has the code, across ages, written not only individuals but entire worlds of living form? The code is not static. It carries history, mutations, small shifts in letters, ripple outward through generations. Some fade, some endure, shaping the endless variety of life around you. Evolution is the echo of change inscribed in DNA, reminding you that creativity is written into biology itself. You rest now with the rhythm of code turning into life. The spiral of DNA has been read, its letters translated, its music played in proteins that shape your body. But another rhythm calls softly, one that stretches across time far larger than a single life. It is the rhythm of change, the echo of evolution written into the very letters of the code. DNA is faithful, yes, but it is not flawless. When it copies itself, sometimes an error slips through. A letter changes, a rung of the spiral shifts. This change is called a mutation. Most often, it is small, like a single note out of tune. Sometimes it fades quietly, without consequence. Other times, it disrupts the melody. But every so often, the new note becomes part of the music, shaping it into something different, something lasting. You imagine a great poem copied by countless scribes over generations. Most preserve the lines faithfully, but now and then a word is changed, a letter altered. Some of these changes confuse the meaning. Others are corrected by later hands. But some add something new, a phrase that resonates differently, a verse that carries fresh beauty. Over time, the poem evolves. DNA works the same way. Its letters shift slowly, accumulating changes that ripple through generations. Life's diversity blooms from this process. The wings of butterflies, the stripes of tigers, the shape of leaves and shells, all are written by echoes of mutation. Small changes, compounded over millennia, create vast variety. You breathe deeply and sense how miraculous this is, that the tiniest shift in code can one day give rise to entire species, entire ecosystems, entire worlds. Evolution is not fast. It is not abrupt. It is the slow unfolding of possibility, tested by time. Changes that weaken often fade away. Changes that strengthen are carried forward. The environment is the stage upon which these scripts are performed. If the change fits the stage, the performance continues. If not, the script ends there. In this quiet way, the story of life is written, not by one author, but by time itself. You pause with the image of a tree. Each branch splits into smaller branches and smaller ones still. At each split, a choice. At each choice, a change. The tree of life has grown this way for billions of years, branching with every shift in the code. You are one of its leaves, held at the tip of a long and ancient branch. Behind you stretch countless forks and turns, each shaped by a mutation that endured. And within you, those echoes remain. Your DNA carries not only the instructions for you, but traces of those who came before. Ancient viruses stitched into the code, ancestral genes repurposed for new functions, fragments of lives long past. You are a living archive of evolution, carrying history within every cell. Evolution is creativity written into biology. The code does not only preserve, it invents. Mutations are not mistakes to be erased, but possibilities to be tested. Most do not endure, but some blossom into new forms of life. This is how fish became creatures of land, how wings unfurled into the sky, how flowers burst into color. Evolution is the art of change, painted slowly across generations. You breathe, sensing how deeply this echoes within you. Your own existence is the result of countless small changes that endured. Without them, you would not be here. The shape of your hands, the rhythm of your breath, the patterns of your mind, all are echoes of ancient choices inscribed in DNA. And still, the code changes. Mutations happen every day, some within you, some within every living being. Most are silent, unnoticed, but each one carries the potential to shape the future. The whisper of the code is not only memory, it is possibility. Evolution continues, even now, in the quiet unfolding of letters. You rest in the awareness that life is never fixed. It is always moving, always shifting, always testing new paths. The echo of evolution is not loud. It is subtle, patient, unhurried. It reminds you that change is not failure, but the very way life grows. You imagine this echo as a ripple in water. A stone is dropped, a mutation occurs. The ripple moves outward, sometimes fading, sometimes reaching far. Over time, ripples overlap, creating new patterns, new shapes upon the surface. Evolution is this overlapping, this endless ripple of change across time. The night deepens, and you find comfort in this truth. You are part of a story that began long before you and will continue long after. The genetic code is both faithful and flexible, steady and shifting, a whisper that remembers and a whisper that invents. And as you drift further into calm, you feel the next question rising softly. If the code carries memory and change, if it holds both history and possibility, then what does it mean that this same language is shared across all living beings? Perhaps the next step is to listen not only to your own code, but to the shared tongue of life itself, the universal script that unites you with everything that breathes. You drift outward now, seeing that the same code rests in trees, birds, whales, and your own body. Life shares this script across oceans and forests, across time and form. The genetic code is a universal tongue, uniting the smallest microbe with the tallest mountain tree. You rest after tracing the echoes of evolution. You have wandered among small changes, mutations, and the slow unfolding of time. But as you breathe deeply now, another realization dawns. Despite all the variety, despite every change and every difference, the foundation of life is shared. Beneath feathers and fins, roots and skin, lies the same alphabet, the same code. You drift outward beyond yourself. First you sense the code in your own cells, the whisper of DNA quietly reciting instructions. Then you imagine stepping gently into the world around you. A bird perches on a branch, its heart beating quickly. A tree stretches its branches upward, leaves unfolding toward the sun. A whale moves through the sea, immense and graceful. Inside each, within every cell, the same language is written. Adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine, ATCG. The same 4 letters, the same script. This is one of the deepest truths of biology. The code is universal. The same alphabet writes the story of all living things. The sequences vary, the arrangements differ, but the letters are shared. You carry the same alphabet as the grass beneath your feet, as the bird that sings at dawn, as the bacteria invisible to your eye. Life is diverse in form, but united in language. You pause to feel the intimacy of this. The boundary between you and the world softens. You are not separate from the tree, the bird, the whale. You are kin, related through the same code. The differences between species are vast, yet the foundation is one. It is as if the universe chose a single language for life and never changed the alphabet, only the words and sentences it creates. You imagine this code as a song sung across time. Every species sings its own melody, yet all draw from the same notes. A whale's deep call, a bird's bright chirp, the rustle of leaves. All are verses in the song of life, composed from the same 4 tones. The song is endless, variations infinite, but the notes never change. Why is it so? Why should the same code guide all life? Scientists suggest that this universality is ancient. Once, billions of years ago, life emerged from simple beginnings. The first cells carried a genetic code, and all life since has inherited it. The universality is a clue, a fingerprint of a shared origin. You, the tree, the bird, the whale, the microbe all descend from the same ancestral spark. The code you carry is a relic of that first moment of life. You breathe and feel the humility of this truth. You are not only human, you are part of a lineage as old as Earth itself. The letters in your cells have been copied across billions of years, across countless lives, across oceans and continents. They connect you backward in time to the earliest cells that ever lived. They connect you outward, now, to every living thing that shares this planet with you. Imagine walking into a vast library again, but this time it is not yours alone. It is shared. Every book in this library is written with the same alphabet, though the stories differ. Some are short, like the simple codes of bacteria. Some are long, like the complex scripts of humans or whales. But all rest on the same letters. A universal library, a shared text of life. You let yourself rest in the thought that the differences between species are less than they appear. When scientists compare the sequences of genes, they find surprising similarities. The DNA of a chimpanzee is nearly identical to yours. A mouse shares many of your genes as well. Even a small fruit fly carries versions of genes that echo your own. This shared script binds you to creatures you might never have imagined as kin. And it extends further still. The bacteria that live within you, the microbiome that helps digest your food, balance your body, sustain your health, also carry DNA written in the same code. Their lives may be different, their forms simple, yet they are woven into the same language. You are a host to countless companions, each one singing from the same alphabet. Life is not isolated. It is a choir. You pause to notice how comforting this is. The universality of the code creates a sense of belonging. You are not an accident adrift, nor a creature alone. You are part of a network that spans the globe, that stretches across oceans and forests, deserts and skies. Life is diverse, yes, but it is one. The same code flows through all, whispering the same language in different dialects. You imagine standing at the edge of a forest. You listen to the calls of birds, the rustle of animals in the brush, the buzz of insects in the air. Each voice is different, but all are connected. Beneath every sound lies the same foundation, the same code reciting its letters. The forest becomes more than a collection of beings. It becomes a single story, a shared script unfolding in harmony. Even viruses, though not fully alive, carry genetic code. They borrow the machinery of cells to replicate, to continue. They too draw on the same alphabet. In this way, the universality of the code extends to the very edges of life. Everything that reproduces, everything that carries instructions across generations, rests upon the same letters. You drift further, imagining the ocean. Beneath its surface swim countless creatures, from plankton to whales. Their forms differ, their worlds are varied, yet inside each cell the same letters are written. The ocean becomes a manuscript, filled with variations on the same script. You walk along the shore and feel the waves not as separation, but as continuity. The code binds you to the sea as surely as it binds you to the land. This universality has allowed humans to study life deeply. Because the code is shared, scientists can take knowledge from one species and apply it to another. The gene that makes a glow in a jellyfish can be placed into a mouse, and the mouse will glow as well. The alphabet is the same, the translation universal. This is why medical research uses model organisms, fruit flies, mice, even yeast. Their codes are different stories, but written in the same alphabet, readable across species. And yet, there is something tender in this fact. Universality does not erase uniqueness. Just as poems written in the same alphabet differ in beauty, so too does life differ in form. The code is shared, but the expression is varied, infinite. The tree and the whale, the bird and the human, all unique, all unrepeatable, all created from the same letters. You rest in this paradox. Life is one, and life is many. The code is shared, and the stories are endless. This is the wonder of the genetic script. That simplicity creates infinity, that universality gives rise to diversity. The night deepens, and you feel this universality as a comfort. You are never apart from the world. The code within you is the code of the earth itself. You are kin to forests and oceans, to birds and bacteria, to all who carry DNA. You belong to this shared language of life. And as you drift, a gentle question arises. If the code is shared, if it unites all living beings, then how does it endure? Fragile though it seems, how does DNA survive storms, damage, time? Perhaps the next step is to see not only the universality of the code, but its resilience, the fragile threads that nonetheless weave a pattern strong enough to hold life together. Though delicate, DNA endures storms of time and change. It repairs, rebuilds, and weaves itself back together, like a tapestry strengthened by its own fraying. You rest in the paradox. Fragile as a thread, resilient as life itself. You picture the double helix again, its staircase winding upward like a delicate sculpture. From a distance, it appears unshakable, strong enough to hold the memory of life itself. Yet as you draw closer, you see how fine it really is. The strands are thin, fragile as threads of silk. A single misplaced letter can shift meaning. A single break can threaten continuity. And still, somehow, DNA has endured billions of years. Fragile in structure, yet resilient in pattern. You breathe and let this paradox rest gently in your thoughts. Fragility and resilience are not opposites here. They coexist, woven into the nature of the code itself. DNA can be damaged, yes. Ultraviolet light from the sun can strike it. Chemicals can bend it. Heat, cold, and chance can introduce breaks. But DNA is not helpless. It carries within itself the capacity to mend. You imagine a tapestry, finely woven. Over time, threads may fray, colors may fade, patterns may distort. Yet a careful weaver restores it, knotting loose ends, reinforcing weak spots, weaving new threads into the old. DNA does the same. Enzymes within the cell act as weavers, constantly scanning the code, correcting errors, repairing breaks. Tiny guardians move silently along the spiral, seeking places where the thread has been disturbed, stitching it whole again. This repair is constant, unending. Each of your cells experiences thousands of small damages to DNA every day. Yet you do not collapse because the repairs are steady, faithful, invisible. Your body carries teams of molecular caretakers who ensure the library remains legible. The music continues. The story unfolds. Fragility exists, but so does resilience. You rest in the comfort that mistakes are part of life, and so is repair. A mutation may slip through, and sometimes those changes are useful, becoming seeds of evolution. Other times they are neutral, fading quietly, and sometimes they disrupt, leading to illness. But even then, life persists. The code as a whole is resilient, capable of withstanding error because it is redundant, flexible, adaptive. You imagine DNA as a rope made not of a single thread, but of many. If one strand frays, the rope still holds. The pairing of bases, the double nature of the helix, provides backup. If one side is damaged, the other can guide repair. The structure itself is protective. Fragile threads combine to create resilience. This balance echoes across life. Delicacy allows flexibility. Resilience allows endurance. DNA can bend, twist, fold into protective shapes. It can pack tightly to shield itself or unwind to be read. It is not rigid, but fluid, able to adapt its form to survive. You think of seeds lying dormant in the earth. They appear fragile, small, dry, inert, yet they carry life within, waiting for the right conditions. DNA inside them is preserved for years, even centuries, until rain and warmth awaken it. Fragile to the eye, resilient across time. Even in ancient remains, DNA sometimes lingers. Scientists have read fragments from mammoths long extinct, from humans who lived tens of thousands of years ago. Though broken and incomplete, enough survives to glimpse the past. DNA is fragile enough to shatter, yet resilient enough to endure across ages. Its threads are delicate, yet their patterns persist. You pause to notice how this mirrors your own life. You too are fragile. Skin can bruise, bones can break, memories can fade. And yet you endure. You heal, you adapt, you continue. Fragility and resilience are not contradictions. They are companions. The genetic code within you is proof of this, carrying both vulnerability and strength in equal measure. You imagine resilience as rhythm. The code may falter, but the rhythm continues. Just as your breath can quicken or slow but never cease entirely, DNA can suffer breaks and errors but still carry life forward. The rhythm of repair, of adaptation, of endurance keeps the music alive. You drift further into this thought and see resilience not as perfection, but as persistence. DNA does not avoid all mistakes. It survives them. Life itself is not flawless. It is enduring. Each generation carries scars and changes, but the code continues. Resilience is the willingness of the thread to hold, even when frayed. The universality of DNA makes its resilience even more remarkable. The same structure persists in bacteria and in humans, in trees and in whales. The fragile thread has stretched across billions of years without snapping, weaving itself into every form of life. Its resilience lies not only in repair, but in its universality, its ability to serve as the foundation for all living things. You picture again the tapestry, stretching wide, woven from countless threads. Some threads break and are replaced. Some fade, some shine brighter. Yet the pattern holds. Life continues. DNA's fragility allows for variation. Its resilience allows for continuity. The tapestry is never finished, always being woven. As you breathe deeply, you realize how much comfort this brings. Fragility is not failure. It is part of the design. It invites repair, growth, adaptation. It allows for change, for evolution, for the creation of new forms. Without fragility, there would be no need for resilience. Without resilience, fragility would overwhelm. Together, they create balance. Your own life carries this balance. You are vulnerable, yet you heal. You are finite, yet you endure. You are fragile, yet you are resilient. The code within you reflects this truth, repeating it in every cell. It is a lesson written into the very structure of life. The night deepens, and you wonder gently about what follows resilience. If DNA repairs, restores, and adapts, what does it mean when humans learn to read it? To open the spiral and look closely at its letters? To study the fragile threads and resilient patterns, not only as part of the body but as knowledge. Perhaps the next step is to step into that library fully, to begin reading the script of life. Humans have begun to read this hidden script, decoding letters once invisible. Genomics opens the book of life, page by page, revealing how health, inheritance, and identity flow from the same alphabet. You linger with both awe and humility at what it means to read life's deepest text. You rest with the image of fragile threads, resilient patterns, and you feel the question stir. What happens when we learn to read them? For billions of years, DNA remained hidden, its spiral unseen, its letters unknown. The script whispered quietly in every living cell, but no ear could hear it. No eye could see its text. Then, slowly, humans began to open the book. At first, the discovery was only of form. Scientists saw the double helix under microscopes, that elegant spiral of memory. It was beautiful, but its meaning was still locked away. To understand life, the letters themselves had to be read, one after another across billions of bases. This task seemed impossible, like trying to copy an endless scroll by hand. And yet, humans began. You imagine holding a vast library where every volume is written in 4 letters, A, T, C, G. To read it would take lifetimes, and still it might never be complete. Yet, with patience and curiosity, the letters began to emerge. Methods were invented to sequence DNA, to line up the letters in order, to spell out the script hidden in cells. Slowly at first, then faster, technology turned the impossible into the achievable. The Human Genome Project became one of the greatest journeys into this hidden text. For more than a decade, scientists around the world worked together, reading the 3 billion letters that form the human script. Each base was like a step in a long pilgrimage, carefully recorded, meticulously checked. And at last, the first full draft was written down. Humanity had read its own instruction book. You pause with the awe of this achievement. To read the genome is not like reading a novel. It is not a story with a clear plot or ending. It is more like a vast encyclopedia. Countless entries, cross-references, passages that make sense and passages still obscure. Some sections hold clear instructions for proteins. Others are repetitive, mysterious, seemingly silent. The Book of Life is complex, layered, still unfolding its meaning. And yet, even the act of opening it changed everything. Scientists could now see which letters were linked to disease, which sequences guided development, which variations explained differences between people. Reading the script gave insight into health, inheritance, identity. It revealed both the unity of humanity and the uniqueness of each individual. You imagine sitting quietly with this book, turning pages slowly. You notice that much of it feels familiar, sequences that are the same in nearly everyone. These are the passages that keep life steady, the instructions all humans share. But scattered among them are variations, small changes that distinguish one person from another. A single letter shift here or there may alter eye color, height, or even the risk of illness. The Book of Life is both shared and personal, a universal script written in unique editions. The act of reading has expanded beyond humans. Scientists have sequenced the DNA of countless species, plants, animals, microbes. Each genome is its own story, yet all are written in the same alphabet. By comparing them, humans can trace relationships, map the tree of life, follow evolution's branching paths. Reading the script of life is not only about understanding the self, but about understanding the web of existence that surrounds you. You breathe deeply and sense the humility in this. To read DNA is to glimpse a text older than any human culture, older than mountains and rivers, older than oceans as we know them. The genome is a document written by time itself, copied across billions of years. Opening it is not only science, it is reverence. And yet, as with all knowledge, reading carries weight. To know the letters of life is to carry responsibility. What does it mean to see the risks of illness hidden in the code? What does it mean to know how one life differs from another at the level of genes? The information can guide healing, but it can also stir difficult questions. Knowledge is powerful, and power asks for care. You imagine again the quiet library, shelves filled with DNA scrolls. To walk here is to tread softly, with awe and with humility. You do not pull books down carelessly. You do not scribble in margins thoughtlessly. You read with reverence, aware that each volume is a life. Reading the genome has already brought healing. Doctors can identify genetic conditions, tailor treatments to individuals, anticipate risks before they unfold. Whole fields of medicine called genomics and precision medicine have grown from this reading. What once felt like destiny now feels more flexible, more open to intervention. The script is not a fixed sentence but a text that can be read and, sometimes, rewritten. Still, you feel the weight of mystery. Even as the code is read, much remains unknown. Vast sections of the genome are still called dark matter, regions without clear function, passages whose meaning is hidden. Reading continues, but understanding lags behind. This is the nature of deep texts. They reveal themselves slowly, in layers, through patient attention. You rest in the thought that this slowness is good. Mystery preserves wonder. If every letter were instantly understood, perhaps the beauty would be diminished. Instead, the genome invites ongoing curiosity, a lifelong and species-long exploration. The night deepens, and you imagine yourself as part of this journey. Though you may not hold pipettes or sequence machines, you are still a reader of life. Every breath, every glance at the natural world, every recognition of kinship with other beings is part of reading the script. You live the code even as others decode it. You pause with a final reflection. Reading DNA is like hearing the whisper of life for the first time in words. The whisper you felt in your cells now becomes legible, visible, tangible. It is a translation of the language life has always spoken. And as you drift into calm, another question rises gently. If humans can read the script, what does it mean when they begin to edit it? To not only open the library, but to add new lines, erase old ones, reshape the text? The next step of your journey asks not only about knowledge but about power and the responsibility of rewriting the code of life. Now you enter the delicate space where humans not only read but rewrite. Tools like CRISPR allow the rearranging of letters, correcting, altering, creating. You feel the weight of this power, the potential for healing, the risk of hubris, and you rest with the question of responsibility. You linger in the library of DNA, its scrolls vast, its letters ancient. For a long time, humans could only gaze in wonder, reading line after line with reverence, trying to understand. But slowly, something changed. Curiosity grew into skill, and skill opened a new possibility. Not only to read the text of life, but to edit it. You imagine holding a manuscript thousands of years old, its pages fragile, its words carrying generations of meaning. To touch such a text is already humbling. But what if you held a pen, one capable of adding words, of erasing lines, of altering the very story itself? This is what tools like CRISPR have brought. They are pens for the genetic code, able to cut and replace, to shift letters in ways both simple and profound. The process, though technical, can be seen simply. CRISPR is like a pair of molecular scissors, guided by a fragment of RNA, a small piece that recognizes a matching sequence of DNA. Once the right place is found, the scissors cut. Then the cell, always ready to repair, stitches the break. In this moment of repair, changes can be made. A letter can be deleted, another added, a section rearranged. The script of life, once fixed, can now be edited. You pause with the enormity of this. For billions of years, DNA changed only slowly, through mutation and chance, through the patient unfolding of evolution. Now, humans can guide the change. Not blindly, but deliberately. The possibilities are immense. Diseases caused by faulty genes could be corrected. Crops could be made more resilient, nourishing more people. Even extinct traits might be revived. Editing the code is not only knowledge, it is potential. And yet, you sense the weight here. To touch the script is to carry responsibility. A mistake could ripple outward, just as mutations ripple through generations. A decision made lightly could alter not just one life, but countless lives to come. Editing the letters is powerful, but power asks for humility. You let this truth settle gently. The code is not simply a machine to be rewired. It is a story, delicate and interconnected. To change one line is to change the context of all that follows. Just as in a poem, where altering one word shifts the rhythm of the verse, altering one gene can shift the rhythm of life. Care is needed, patience is needed, humility is needed. You imagine again the scribe with the ancient manuscript. Some changes might restore what was lost, repairing words faded by time, preserving meaning. Others might clarify, correcting mistakes made by earlier hands. These edits are gentle, restorative, honoring the original text. But what of changes that invent new lines that alter the story altogether? Are they creativity, or are they disruption? These are the questions CRISPR and other tools bring to the forefront of human imagination. Already, editing has brought healing. Diseases once thought untouchable are now being approached at their root, at the level of code. Researchers have corrected genetic disorders in cells, restoring function by adjusting letters. What once seemed impossible now feels within reach. The potential for compassion is immense, but the possibilities extend beyond healing. Crops resistant to drought, animals bred with new traits, even the idea of altering embryos before birth, changing the script before the story begins. These possibilities bring both promise and unease. For who decides what edits are just? Who decides what story should be told? You rest with these questions. They are not meant to be answered quickly. They require reflection, patience, listening. Just as editing a delicate poem asks you to read it many times before touching a single word, editing life asks for deep care. You breathe deeply, sensing the balance of fragility and power. The letters of DNA are simple, only 4, yet together they create beings with thought, with love, with memory. To change these letters is to touch mystery itself. Editing is not only science. It is an ethical, spiritual act. You imagine again the spiral staircase of DNA, winding upward. Each step is a letter, each rung a pairing, each turn a verse. With CRISPR, humans hold the ability to place new steps, to remove old ones, to alter the climb. The staircase will still rise, but the journey may be different. The view at the top may change. You linger in the awe of this possibility, knowing it must be approached with reverence. The night deepens and you let the thought expand. Perhaps the act of editing is not entirely new. Life itself has always edited through mutation, through recombination, through change. Evolution is a long form of editing, slower, less precise, but still writing new lines into the story of life. What humans now hold is not the act of editing itself, but the speed and precision of it. The pen is sharper. The ink flows faster. The responsibility is greater. And as you drift into stillness, another question rises softly. If humans can edit, if they can reshape the letters of life, what happens to the continuity of the story? How do these edits ripple into generations, into futures yet unborn? Perhaps the next step is to reflect on continuity itself, the poetry of life's ongoing story, the way the code flows unbroken even as it changes. As the journey closes, you return to the rhythm of your breath, aware that your body itself is a poem written in code. Each cell recites its verse, part of a chorus stretching across time. You rest in the gentle truth that life is not static but continuous, a language always spoken, never finished. You pause with the weight of editing still in your thoughts. The idea of touching the code, of shifting letters in life's most ancient text, carries both awe and caution. Yet beneath this possibility lies something deeper, something constant. The continuity of life's story. Through all changes, natural or guided, the code endures. Its rhythm flows forward like a poem without end. A continuity that binds past, present, and future. You imagine listening closely to your own body, as if each cell is a quiet poet reciting verses. None speaks loudly, yet together their voices create harmony. The poem they recite is not written once and left untouched. It is ongoing, read and reread, copied and passed on, whispered across generations. Each cell contributes its stanza, each gene its line, each base its syllable. The poem is both ancient and new, both repeated and reinvented in every moment of life. Continuity is not rigidity. It is not the repetition of sameness, but the rhythm of persistence. Your DNA is copied faithfully each time a cell divides, yet small variations arise. Continuity allows for change without breaking the thread. It is like a river, the water flows always new, yet the river itself endures. Life's poetry is like this river, always moving, never still, never ending. You drift back in time, far beyond memory. The same continuity connects you to the first spark of life on Earth. From that moment onward, the code has been carried, copied, reshaped, but never abandoned. Every plant, every animal, every person, all are verses in the same long poem. Your breath tonight is linked to breaths from ages past, to the silent workings of ancient cells, to the unfolding of continuity across billions of years. This continuity brings comfort. It reminds you that you are not alone, not separate, not adrift. You are part of an unbroken chain. Life has faced extinctions, storms, ice ages, upheavals. Yet through all of it, the code has survived. Fragile threads, resilient patterns, carried forward again and again. The poetry of life is endurance, the gentle insistence of being. You picture a scroll unfurling, not with a beginning and end, but endlessly, like a ribbon with no final knot. Each generation writes a new verse, then hands the scroll to the next. You are both reader and writer of this scroll, carrying forward words given to you, adding your own line, then passing it onward. Your body itself is a continuation, shaped by ancestors, shaping descendants, a verse in continuity's song. The poetry of continuity appears not only in DNA but in every rhythm around you. The sun rises and sets, tides rise and fall, seasons turn. Each cycle repeats but never exactly the same. Continuity is not monotony. It is variation within persistence. Spring always comes, yet each spring is unique. Cells always divide, yet each copy holds subtle differences. Continuity is steady, yet creative. You let this realization soothe you. Continuity means you do not need to hold everything yourself. The code carries you, sustains you, endures beyond you. Your role is not to complete the poem, but to live your stanza fully, to add your breath to the continuity of the song. And yet, continuity also means responsibility. What you do, how you live, ripples forward. Choices affect the next verse, just as past choices shaped you. This is true for DNA, where edits or mutations ripple into future generations. It is true for life itself, where your actions influence the world carried forward. Continuity connects not only genes, but choices, values, care. You breathe deeply, and notice how continuity feels in your own body. Your heartbeat carries on from moment to moment, never pausing, never breaking. Your breath repeats, inhale and exhale, always the same, always new. These rhythms are not interruptions of life. They are its continuity. Without them, life would halt. With them, life flows. The poetry of continuity is written in every heartbeat, every breath. Consider again the double helix. Its strands coil around one another, partners in a dance that never ends. When separated, each guides the creation of a new strand, ensuring the spiral continues. DNA does not cling to permanence by resisting change. It clings to continuity by replicating, by renewing. The spiral remembers by rewriting itself again and again. Continuity is not stasis. It is renewal. Even death fits within continuity. A cell's end does not stop life. It opens space for others to thrive. An individual's passing does not silence the code. It passes onward, reshaped, carried forward. Continuity is larger than the single life, larger than the single moment. It is the unfolding of all life together, the endless poem spoken in countless voices. You imagine listening to this poem not with ears, but with your whole being. It is not a poem of rhyme or rhythm, but of persistence. Every living thing is a line, every generation a verse, every age a stanza. The poem is vast, endless, beautiful. It is the poetry of continuity, and you are part of its flow. This thought invites peace. You need not worry about endings. You need not fear that the story of life will close with a final page. Continuity ensures the poem carries on, through new voices, new forms, new expressions. Your verse is part of something larger than yourself, and in that truth you are held. The night deepens, and you rest within continuity's embrace. You feel yourself part of an ancient rhythm, not separate but connected, not alone but surrounded by the voices of all who came before and all who will come after. The poem of life continues always, always. And as you drift into stillness, a new curiosity stirs. If the code has always endured, passed on and renewed, how exactly does it move through generations? How does inheritance carry continuity across time? Perhaps the next step of your journey is to follow the path of DNA as it moves from parent to child, exploring the dance of inheritance that keeps the poem alive. You drift into the flow of generations, where the code passes silently from parent to child. Each handoff is like a candle flame, carried forward yet flickering with small variations. Inheritance is not a rigid chain, but a dance of continuity and change, weaving family into the fabric of evolution. You linger in the poetry of continuity, resting in the comfort that life flows forward without end. Yet a question arises gently. How does the code move across generations? How does the spiral of DNA, coiled within you, travel onward to the next life, the next verse in the poem? Inheritance is this passage, the quiet handoff between generations. You imagine a candle burning in darkness. Its flame is steady, glowing with warmth. When another candle is touched to it, the flame leaps across, lighting the new wick. The first flame does not diminish. It continues burning. Yet the second flame now carries the same fire. So too does DNA pass from parent to child, flame to flame, unbroken yet new. You pause to notice how profound this is. Your DNA is not solely yours. It is inherited, given to you by parents, who received it from theirs, and theirs before them. Stretching backward, your spiral of DNA carries traces of countless ancestors, each one passing their letters forward. The dance of inheritance has been going on since the beginning of life, each step a movement in time, each generation a turn. This dance is not rigid, not exact. Half your DNA comes from one parent, half from the other. The strands are shuffled, recombined, mixed like colors blending on a palette. No child is an exact copy, yet all are continuations. The dance is balance, continuity with variation. The code is preserved, but it changes with every step. You imagine two dancers meeting on a stage. Each brings their own rhythm, their own steps. Together they weave a new pattern, a duet that has never been seen before. The child is the duet, the blending of two rhythms into one. And when the child grows, they too will dance with another, creating new patterns, new steps, new continuations. Inheritance is choreography written across generations. The details of this dance are remarkable. Inside your cells, special cells called gametes, sperm or egg, carry only half the usual amount of DNA. This way, when they join, the two halves unite to create a full set. The child receives one half from each parent, a new whole formed in the moment of union. This balance ensures that the dance continues seamlessly, generation after generation. And yet, even here, chance plays a role. The mixing of DNA is not precise in arrangement. Pieces of chromosomes swap sections, recombine, shuffle. The result is endless variation, infinite possibility. No two siblings are exactly alike, except identical twins who share a single starting point. The dance of inheritance is structured, but improvisational. It repeats steps but allows for endless creativity. You let yourself rest in the beauty of this. You are not only yourself. You are also the echo of countless others. The color of your eyes, the shape of your hands, the rhythms of your body all carry traces of the past. And yet you are unique. No one has ever carried your exact arrangement of DNA before, and no one ever will again. You are both inheritance and invention. Inheritance also carries stories of health and resilience. Some genes bring strength, resistance to disease, adaptations to environments. Others carry risks, small vulnerabilities written into the code. The dance includes both, balancing advantage and challenge, weaving them into each life. You are part of this balance, shaped by what was handed down, but also by how you live, how you adapt, how you add to the story. You think of families, of resemblances carried through generations. A smile repeated, a voice echoing, a gesture mirrored. These are outward signs of inheritance, the dance visible in daily life. Yet beneath them, in silence, the DNA continues its choreography, pairing, recombining, passing forward. What you see is only the surface of a dance as old as life itself. And inheritance is not only physical. It carries memory in another way, through culture, through teaching, through love. Parents pass stories, traditions, knowledge, care. These too shape the next generation, weaving alongside the genetic code. The dance of inheritance is both biological and human, both molecular and emotional. You are shaped by both, a being of DNA and of story, of letters and of love. The night deepens, and you rest in gratitude for this continuity. The code did not begin with you, and it will not end with you. You are part of a flowing river, one step in a dance that stretches backward and forward endlessly. This truth is humbling, but also comforting. You do not need to carry everything yourself. The dance continues no matter what. And as you drift further into calm, another question begins to stir. If inheritance is the dance of DNA across generations, then what music do the dancers follow? What is created when the letters are read, when DNA is turned into proteins, structures, and rhythms of the body? Perhaps the next step is to listen more closely, to hear how inheritance becomes music, the music of proteins, the instruments of life's symphony. The code does not remain as letters alone. It becomes melody. Proteins fold like instruments, creating structure and rhythm within the cell. You listen to this music, the beating drum of enzymes, the soaring notes of hormones, the harmonies that sustain life's concert. You linger on the thought of inheritance, of the quiet handoff of DNA through generations. The letters are passed forward, shuffled, recombined, gifted anew. But the letters themselves are only beginnings. They are not the music yet, only the notes waiting to be played. To hear the melody of life, you must listen to what these letters create. Proteins, the instruments and musicians of the living world. Proteins are everywhere in you. They give your body its shape, its motion, its chemical rhythms. They are the threads of hair, the fibers of muscle, the scaffolding of skin. They are also the invisible catalysts, the enzymes that spark reactions, the messengers that carry signals, the guardians that protect against harm. Every part of life, every action, is touched by proteins. You imagine the DNA as sheet music, silent until performed. Proteins are the sound of that performance. Each gene is a score. Each protein is an instrument playing its part. Together, they form a vast orchestra, one that plays without pause, without end, every moment of your life. Consider hemoglobin, a protein in your blood. It folds into a shape that cradles oxygen, carrying it from your lungs to your tissues. Without it, breath would not reach your cells. Hemoglobin is like a gentle flute, carrying the melody of oxygen through the body. Or consider collagen, a protein that forms the structure of skin, bone, and tendon. It weaves strength and flexibility, like the deep, steady hum of a cello holding the music together. Enzymes, too, are proteins. They are the percussion, the rhythm section, beating steadily. They speed up chemical reactions, turning slow drifts into rapid movements. Without enzymes, life's processes would be too slow, too quiet. They keep the tempo, the drumbeat of the body's chemistry. Hormones, many of which are proteins, act as messengers, carrying notes from one part of the orchestra to another. Insulin tells cells to take in sugar. Growth hormone signals tissues to expand. These are the brass instruments, sounding across distance, ensuring the orchestra remains in harmony. You let yourself imagine this orchestra filling the space within you. Countless proteins, each folding into its shape, each carrying out its role, each contributing to the music of life. It is not chaotic. It is coordinated, guided by the score of DNA, directed by the silent hand of the genetic code. The result is a concert that sustains you, moment by moment, breath by breath. And yet, proteins are not rigid machines. They are flexible, folding and unfolding, shifting shapes when needed. Their ability to fold is what gives them their power. A protein begins as a chain of amino acids, linked together like beads. But then it twists, coils, bends until it finds its form. The shape is the music. The way it folds determines how it functions. Sometimes the folding falters. A protein may misfold, losing its shape, unable to play its part. This can lead to illness, as when proteins clump together and disrupt the harmony. Even in this, you sense the fragility of life's music. The score is precise, but the performance requires care. Still, the orchestra usually plays on, resilient, adapting, restoring balance. You pause and feel the wonder of this. Your body is a symphony, and you are both the listener and the music itself. You do not hear it with your ears, but you live it in every heartbeat, every motion, every thought. The music never stops, even when you sleep, even when you are still. Proteins continue their performance, unceasing, tireless. This symphony is not only within you, plays in all living things. A tree has its own proteins, weaving cellulose into wood, channeling energy into growth. A bird has its proteins, powering flight, coloring feathers, fueling song. A whale has its proteins, carrying oxygen through its massive body, maintaining warmth in cold seas. Each creature's orchestra is unique, yet all are guided by the same alphabet, the same score of DNA. You breathe, sensing the universality again. Life's music is diverse, but it is one. Each organism plays its part. Each contributes to the great symphony of Earth. From the tiniest microbe to the largest mammal, proteins are the notes, the instruments, the harmony. The Earth itself hums with this music. Scientists, too, have learned to listen. By studying proteins, they hear the rhythms of health and disease, the melodies of growth and aging. They map the shapes of proteins, tracing their folds, understanding their harmonies. They even attempt to design new proteins, new instruments for the orchestra, to heal or to help. This, too, is editing the music, composing new variations upon an ancient theme. But no matter how much is learned, mystery remains. Proteins are countless, their shapes infinite, their harmonies complex. The orchestra is too vast to ever be fully known. And perhaps that is part of its beauty. To know the music entirely would be to end the wonder. Instead, you listen in awe, catching fragments, sensing the whole, resting in the harmony that surrounds you. As the night deepens, you rest with this music. Your breath feels like rhythm, your heartbeat like percussion, your body like an instrument sustained by proteins. You are music made flesh, a symphony of molecules, a concert unfolding in silence. And yet, another thought stirs gently. If proteins are the instruments, who are the messengers? What carries the score from the DNA library to the orchestra of the cell? The answer lies in RNA, the fragile yet vital courier that moves between code and creation. Perhaps the next step is to follow the messenger, to see how RNA bridges the library and the music, carrying the script from memory into sound. Before DNA, there was RNA, fragile yet powerful. You follow these messengers as they carry instructions outward, linking the archive of DNA to the machinery of life. RNA feels like a fleeting whisper, yet it may hold clues to the earliest origins of living things. You have listened to the music of proteins, the symphony unfolding in every cell. Yet another thought arises, soft but insistent. How does the orchestra know what to play? How do the letters in DNA, locked deep within the nucleus, become the living melody of proteins in the wider cell? The answer lies in messengers, strands of RNA, fragile but essential, carrying the script from archive to stage. You imagine the nucleus as a vast library, filled with scrolls of DNA, ancient and protected. The library does not leave its walls. Its volumes remain guarded, too precious to risk damage. Yet life requires that the instructions be shared. The orchestra outside the library must have access to the score. RNA is the courier, the translator, the messenger. It slips inside, copies the relevant passage, and carries it outward into the busy workshop of the cell. This process, called transcription, is like writing a smaller, portable note from a great manuscript. The original stays safe, intact on the shelf, while the messenger carries only what is needed. The RNA scroll is delicate, thinner, shorter-lived than DNA. It is not built for permanence. It is meant for use, for immediacy. Like a whispered direction, it lasts only as long as it is needed. Messenger RNA, or mRNA, is one type of this courier. It holds the instructions for building proteins, spelling out codons, triplets of bases that guide the assembly of amino acids. When the ribosome, the cell's musician, reads this message, the protein begins to form. Without RNA, the library of DNA would remain silent. RNA turns silence into sound. But RNA's role does not stop there. Other types of RNA carry out different duties, each like a specialist in the orchestra. Transfer RNA delivers amino acids, placing them in the right order. Ribosomal RNA helps form the ribosome itself, shaping the stage upon which proteins are built. Together, these RNAs act as conductor, courier, and instrument all at once, ensuring the performance unfolds with precision. You pause to notice the beauty of this division. DNA is the memory, the archive. Proteins are the players, the music. RNA is the bridge, the movement between memory and melody. It is not as stable as DNA, nor as permanent, but its fragility is also its strength. It can move quickly, appear and disappear, adjust with changing needs. RNA is flexibility, adaptability, immediacy, and this fragility carries a story of deep time. Many scientists believe that before DNA, before proteins, RNA may have been the original molecule of life. Simple strands of RNA, capable of both storing information and catalyzing reactions, may have been the first sparks of biology on Earth. This idea, called the RNA world hypothesis, suggests that RNA was once both the library and the musician, both archive and orchestra. Life may have begun with fragile threads of RNA, whispering the first instructions in a silent world. You rest with this thought, humbled. The messengers in your cells today may be echoes of the very first living systems, reminders of how life began. RNA, fragile and fleeting, may have carried the first whispers of creation, whispers that still resonate in you. Even now, RNA continues to astonish. In recent years, humans have learned to design RNA molecules, crafting vaccines that teach the body to recognize threats. These vaccines do not alter DNA. They provide temporary instructions, like notes handed to the orchestra for a single performance. The proteins built from these instructions train the body to respond. Then the RNA fades, its job complete. Once again, RNA shows its nature. Fragile, transient, powerful. You imagine RNA as a messenger bird, flying from the library with a scroll tied to its leg. It lands in the workshop, delivers its message, then vanishes. Another bird soon takes its place, carrying a new message. The flights never stop, countless couriers moving in and out, ensuring the orchestra has what it needs. Life depends on this constant traffic, this endless delivery of instruction. The fragility of RNA is also a reminder of impermanence. Unlike DNA, which endures, RNA dissolves quickly, broken down after its task is complete. But impermanence is not failure. It is function. By being temporary, RNA allows for change, for responsiveness, for adaptation. It ensures that the orchestra does not play the same melody forever, but shifts with the needs of the moment. You breathe deeply, sensing how this impermanence mirrors your own life. Your thoughts, your feelings, your experiences are also transient. They come, they go, they shape you in the moment and then fade. Yet in their passing, they allow space for new thoughts, new feelings, new experiences. Fragility can be beautiful. Fleeting things carry their own power. RNA reminds you that life is not only about permanence. It is about movement, about flow, about responsiveness. The code may be steady, but the expression is fluid. DNA provides memory. RNA provides immediacy. Together, they balance time, the past written in permanence, the present spoken in whispers. As the night deepens, you imagine drifting back into the ancient world, billions of years ago. Perhaps on a warm tide pool, strands of RNA formed, folded, copied themselves. Fragile, fleeting, yet persistent enough to spark continuity. From those whispers, life unfolded. From those whispers, you are here now. You rest in awe at this continuity. RNA, messenger and ancient ancestor, still carries instructions in your cells, still links memory to melody, still whispers life into being. It is both present and ancestral, fragile and timeless. And as you drift further into calm, another question stirs. If DNA is memory and RNA is messenger, what decides which parts of the code are read, which messages are sent, which songs are sung? Perhaps the next step of your journey is to explore the hidden worlds of epigenetics, the quiet switches that control expression, painting shades upon the same script of life. The code is steady, but its expression changes. Some genes awaken, others fall silent, depending on environment, stress, or nurture. Epigenetics is the subtle brush of life upon the script, painting shades of possibility without rewriting the letters themselves. You rest with the image of RNA, fragile couriers carrying instructions outward. The code is steady, the messenger's faithful, and yet a deeper question lingers. If every cell in your body carries the same DNA, why do they not all become the same? Why does one cell grow into the muscle of your arm, another into the neurons of your brain, another into the lining of your lungs? The answer lies in the hidden worlds of epigenetics, the quiet switches that guide which parts of the script are read and which remain silent. Epigenetics does not change the letters of DNA. The alphabet remains the same, the spiral intact. Instead, it changes the reading. It is like placing bookmarks in a book or adjusting the volume on a soundboard. Some passages are highlighted, made loud and clear. Others are dimmed, hushed, set aside. The story remains the same, but the telling changes. You imagine walking through a library once more. Every cell carries the same collection of books, the same shelves of DNA. But not every librarian chooses the same passages. In one room, poems about muscle strength are read aloud. In another, chapters about vision are recited. In another, the texts of immune defense are performed. The words do not change, but the selections do. Epigenetics is this selection, this choreography of expression. The mechanisms are subtle, molecular brushes painting on the surface of DNA. One is called methylation, small chemical tags placed upon certain bases, like sticky notes marking which passages to ignore. Another is the wrapping of DNA around proteins called histones. The tighter the wrapping, the harder it is to read. Looser wrapping invites easier access. The letters are the same, but their accessibility differs. Epigenetics is the art of packaging and tagging, of opening and closing the book. You breathe, sensing how gentle this process feels. It is not brute force. It is not rewriting the code. It is modulation, fine-tuning, shaping. Like a painter adding shades of light and shadow to a canvas, epigenetics layers meaning upon the genetic script. The letters remain untouched, yet the expression is transformed. And this shaping is responsive. Epigenetic marks can change with environment, with diet, with stress, with nurture. A childhood filled with warmth and care may leave different epigenetic traces than one filled with hardship. Plants growing in drought may alter their epigenetic patterns to survive scarcity. The hidden worlds of epigenetics are where life listens to its surroundings and adjusts the telling of its story. You pause with awe at this adaptability. DNA is steady, a script preserved across time. But epigenetics adds flexibility. allowing life to respond without altering the foundation. It is like a symphony where the score remains the same, but the conductor changes the tempo, the emphasis, the dynamics. Each performance is unique, shaped by context. You reflect on how this mirrors your own life. You, too, are shaped not only by what you inherit but by how it is expressed. The potential of your code is broad, yet environment, experience, and choice influence which parts awaken. Epigenetics is the place where nature meets nurture, where the script of life converses with the stage upon which it is read. The influence of epigenetics can extend across generations. Sometimes, the marks left by environment or experience are carried forward, affecting children and grandchildren. A famine endured by one generation may alter metabolism in the next. Trauma or stress may ripple outward beyond the life that experienced it. This continuity is delicate, but it reminds you that expression is not confined to one moment. The brushstrokes of epigenetics can echo across time. Yet, like RNA, these marks are not permanent. They can fade, shift, be rewritten. The flexibility allows resilience, allowing life to adapt to changing conditions. You are not bound forever by every mark. New experiences, new choices, new environments can open or close different passages, adjust different volumes, shift the telling of your story. The script is steady, but its reading remains fluid. You imagine your genome as a grand piano. The keys are the genes, unchanging, laid out in a fixed pattern. But the music depends on which keys are pressed, which chords are struck, how softly or loudly the notes are played. Epigenetics is the pianist interpreting the score, choosing the dynamics. Two pianists may play the same piece differently, creating distinct performances from the same instrument. So too does life play the piano of DNA with variation, improvisation, nuance. This awareness brings comfort. You are not locked into your code alone. You are not only the sum of letters passed down. The expression of those letters shifts with context, with care, with choice. Epigenetics provides space for flexibility, for growth, for hope. Scientists, too, study this hidden layer. They trace how cancer cells may silence protective genes or awaken harmful ones. They explore how diet and environment influence health not only in one life but in generations. They imagine medicines that could adjust the epigenetic marks, restoring balance where it is lost. The hidden world is becoming visible, and with visibility comes possibility. And yet, you sense again the weight of responsibility. To touch the epigenetic layer is to influence the telling of life's story. It requires gentleness, patience, reverence. The brushes that paint upon the code must be handled with care. For too heavy a hand can distort, silence, or harm. The night deepens and you rest with the thought of layers, DNA as script, RNA as messenger, proteins as music, epigenetics as conductor. Together, they weave the story of life, each adding dimension, each shaping expression. The hidden worlds remind you that life is not fixed, but fluid, able to adjust, able to respond. And as you drift further into stillness, another curiosity begins to stir. If epigenetics shapes how the script is read, what happens when the script itself falters? What occurs when mutations or misfolded proteins disrupt the harmony, when the balance tips into illness? Perhaps the next step is to explore the code in crisis, to see how fragility and resilience meet when life faces challenge. Sometimes the script falters, mutations unchecked, misfolded proteins, diseases written in altered lines. You rest in the reality that fragility is part of life, yet so is resilience. Even in crisis, the body seeks repair, rewriting itself toward healing. You rest with the image of the genetic code as a poem, endlessly repeated yet shaped by epigenetic brushes. But even poems stumble. Sometimes a line is misread, sometimes a page is torn, sometimes ink fades. The same is true for DNA. The code, though resilient, can falter. When it does, the harmony of life shifts into dissonance. This is the code in crisis. Mutations are the most common cracks. A letter changes A to G, C to T, and the meaning of the word transforms. Often the shift is silent, unnoticed, as if a synonym slipped in. But sometimes the change alters the whole instruction. A protein may be misfolded, its shape bent, its function lost. One altered letter can ripple outward into illness. You imagine a recipe copied over and over. Most of the time, the meals taste the same. But if salt becomes sugar, or if a step is omitted, the result may be spoiled. DNA is the recipe for your body. Small errors in copying can lead to broken instructions, and broken instructions can lead to disease. Cancer is one such crisis. It arises when mutations accumulate, when the normal rules of growth are ignored. Cells meant to divide carefully begin dividing wildly. The safeguards of epigenetics, the repair systems of DNA, fail to restrain them. The result is a storm within the body, a dissonant chord disrupting the symphony. And yet, even in cancer, you see life's paradox. The very resilience that normally sustains growth, the persistence of DNA, the drive of cells to divide, turns against itself. The same energy that fuels life can, in crisis, fuel chaos. Fragility and resilience dance uneasily together. Other crises come from proteins misfolding. A chain of amino acids twists into the wrong shape, sticking to others, forming clumps. These clumps may clog neurons, disrupting memory, as in Alzheimer's disease. They may interfere with muscles, with movement, with function. The folding of proteins is delicate, and when it falters, the music loses rhythm. Still, the body is not passive. You carry repair systems, molecular caretakers who watch constantly for errors. Enzymes patrol the DNA, correcting mismatches. Chaperone proteins guide misfolded chains, helping them find the right shape. The immune system destroys cells that grow unruly. Even in crisis, life bends toward repair. You pause with this thought. Fragility is real, but so is resilience. The code can falter, yet the body carries layers of protection. Most mutations are caught, most misfolded proteins corrected, most crises averted before you even notice. Illness reminds you of vulnerability, but healing reminds you of strength. Sometimes the crisis cannot be fully repaired. The error endures, the damage persists. But even then, resilience appears in another form, adaptation. The body finds new balances, compensating for what was lost. Life bends, adjusts, survives. You carry within you both the possibility of harm and the capacity for healing. You imagine again the library of DNA. A fire breaks out in one corner, damaging shelves. Yet other parts remain intact, and the librarians rush to save what they can. The library is scarred, but it still functions, still serves its purpose. So too does your body. Crisis does not always end the story. Sometimes it becomes part of it, shaping new paths, new adaptations. You let this awareness comfort you. The code in crisis is not evidence of failure, but of reality. Fragility is woven into life. Without it, there could be no change, no evolution, no growth. And resilience is always close, always ready to repair, to adapt, to endure. Scientists study these crises closely. By reading mutations, they learn which changes cause illness. By tracing misfolded proteins, they search for ways to intervene. By understanding how cancer arises, they seek treatments to restore order. In this work lies both hope and humility. Hope that knowledge can bring healing, humility at the complexity of the code. You breathe deeply, sensing how this balance mirrors your own life. You too have faced crises. Times when rhythm faltered, when harmony broke. And yet you carried on. Fragility did not end you. Resilience sustained you. The genetic code within you is a reminder of this truth, written in every cell. The night grows quieter, and you let the paradox settle. Life is both vulnerable and enduring. The code can break, but it can also heal. Crisis is not absence of life. It is part of the living process, part of the ongoing story. And as you drift further into calm, another thought stirs softly. If the code can falter, if crises can reshape the story, what does the larger story look like? How does the genetic code, through all its changes, weave the endless narrative of life on Earth? Perhaps the next step is to step back and see the whole, to see the genetic code not only in parts but as the endless story of life itself. At the journey's end, you step back to see the whole. The genetic code is not merely instruction but story, one written across billions of years, in every living being, still unfolding now. You rest with the quiet certainty that this story has no final page, only continuations. You have walked deeply into the code, its letters, its spirals, its music, its messengers, its crises. Now you step back, as if rising slowly from within a forest. What once felt close, detailed, intricate now opens into a vast panorama. From this height, you see the genetic code not only as parts but as a story, the endless story of life. It is not a short tale, nor one with a neat beginning and end. It stretches backward billions of years, to a time before humans, before animals, before plants. In those early moments, strands of RNA may have whispered the first verses, carrying fragile instructions in a silent world. Those verses grew into DNA, spiraling into stability, weaving itself into cells. The story began as a whisper, yet it has never stopped. Every organism that has ever lived carries a chapter of this story. Microbes writing in simplicity, their scripts short yet vital. Ferns and fish and birds adding their verses, branching the plot in new directions. Humans carrying the story further still, not only by living but by learning to read the script itself. The genetic code is not a single book but a library without end, each being a volume, each life a sentence, each cell a word. You pause to feel the beauty of this. Stories are how you understand the world. They give meaning to memory, to history, to hope. The genetic code is the ultimate story, one written not with ink but with molecules, not with paragraphs but with proteins, not with voices but with breath. It is the story of life itself, told in the language of continuity. And this story is not static. It grows with every life, every generation, every mutation and repair. The words are copied, altered, rephrased. Some chapters close as species vanish, but new chapters open as new forms arise. The story is neither finished nor fixed. It is always in motion, always unfolding. You imagine standing before an endless scroll, unfurling across time. It does not move in a straight line but branches like rivers, like trees, like galaxies spiraling outward. Each branch is a lineage, each twig a species, each leaf an individual life. The scroll is alive, still being written, still being read. You are one leaf, one word, one line in the poem. And though your verse is brief, it is part of the endless whole. This endlessness brings comfort. Often you may feel small, fragile, temporary. Yet when you see yourself as part of this story, your place feels both humble and vast. You are not apart from life's tale but inside it, inseparable from its flow. Your DNA is both personal and universal, both unique and shared. It ties you to ancestors you will never meet and to descendants you will never know. The story is larger than you, yet you are essential to it. Even the crises you explored are part of the narrative. Mutations, misfoldings, extinctions, they are not erasures but twists in the plot. They lead to new directions, new chapters, new variations. The story of life is not without hardship, but hardship is part of its unfolding. Beauty and struggle, fragility and resilience, loss and renewal, all are woven into its pages. You breathe deeply, sensing how the story surrounds you. It is written in your cells, but also in the tree outside your window, in the bird that flies across the night sky, in the bacteria in the soil. The story is not human alone. It is universal, carried by all who live. To read it is to remember kinship, to feel belonging, to recognize the unity of existence. And yet, humans add a new dimension. For the first time in billions of years, the story can read itself. Through science, the code has become legible. You are not only a character in the story but also a reader of it. This awareness is both gift and responsibility. To know the script is to hold the pen of its continuation, to touch the edges of its unfolding. But even with this power, you cannot control the whole. The story is too vast, too infinite, too filled with chance. You can edit a line, adjust a phrase, heal a passage, but the greater narrative remains beyond your command. This truth is not limitation but freedom. You do not need to hold everything. The story continues whether or not you direct it. Life endures, expands, creates. You let this realization soften your mind. The story has no final page. Death does not end it. It only turns a leaf. Extinction does not silence it. It shifts the rhythm. Even when stars fade and planets cool, the memory of the code will have been written, its verses etched across time. Perhaps it will begin again elsewhere, in new forms, new letters, new melodies. The story is endless because life is possibility. You imagine drifting among the stars, carrying the awareness that Earth itself is one verse in a cosmic poem. Life here is one telling of the genetic story, but perhaps there are others, scattered across galaxies, waiting to be found. The code may be universal or it may take new forms. Either way, the story stretches beyond imagination. And yet, you do not need to reach the stars to feel its beauty. The endless story is here, now, in your breath, in your pulse, in your quiet body resting. You are living the story as you listen. Each cell recites its verse, each protein plays its part, each messenger carries instructions. You are both the story and its storyteller. The night grows deeper, and you feel peace settle over you. The code is not only instruction but poetry, not only science but story, not only past but future. This continuity is your continuity, its resilience your resilience, its unfolding your unfolding. And as you drift towards sleep, you sense the story still whispering, still being written, still carried forward. There is no final page, only continuations. And perhaps the softest question of all rises now. If life is a story without end, what stanza are you writing tonight, in the quiet of your being? And so we return to our question. How can just 4 simple letters create the vast diversity of life on Earth? The answer lies in the beauty of DNA's code. Simple in alphabet, infinite in expression, and shared by all who live. Thank you for watching, dear friends. If you found wonder and calm here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Snoozing Scientist. Until next time, may your nights be restful and your curiosity alive.